Hi, it's Yvonne. Hey, today's quick gift idea is this fabulous little fabric basket. It is a little sewing tote. Now this one I use the stabilizer in. It's kind of floppy, but it is great to fold up and take with you. If you're going to a retreat or something, you can fold it up, put it in your stuff, and then open it out and put all your notions in there, or all of your tools can go in this little bag. This one I used batting in. So when I'm not going to retreat, check out what I use them for. Get here. Fat quarter storage right there. And they just look so cute. Let me pull it off the wall so you can see it up close. It just looks so fun. I have them sitting around in my sewing room with different fabric fat quarters that I have rolled onto cardstock, and they just sit there so pretty. So you can make this out of, I chose this wonderful little sewing machine fabric. I've also made them out of the Urban Elements layer cakes. I'm sorry, my words have gone tonight. Layer cakes, they're just so much fun. They have little handles and everything. So let's jump on over to the sewing machine and I'll show you how to make this fabulous little bag, or little basket, I guess is what it's called. For this fabric organizer box, I use it for my fat quarters. They fit perfectly. You need 2 pieces of fabric, contrasting fabric, that are 17.5 by 13.5, and a piece of batting. And I have my batting just slightly smaller, and I have spray basted it to the back of my outside fabric. Okay, so you need those 3, and then you need handles, which are 8 by 3, 2 of them, 8 by 3, and then this is just a medium weight stabilizer, iron-on stabilizer that is cut 8 by 1 3/4, so that we can use that to as handles on our bag. Okay, so what we're going to start with is our handles here. So we want to take our iron. Once you have added your stabilizer, oops, forgot to turn my iron on, just a second. It'll warm up fast while I'm talking. Okay, so you're going to iron your stabilizer right down the center, and then just fold in and press down on each side. So it just makes it very easy by having that stabilizer to just fold it right in to the 1 3/4. There we go. And then you will fold it in half one more time. Okay, so you have roughly a 3/4 inch handle here. Okay, and we'll do that on both of them. See how quickly my iron heats up? I love it. And it's just a little old cheap iron, but sometimes those are the ones that just work the fastest. And if you drop them, you haven't invested a whole bunch of money in it, because I do sometimes knock them off my sewing table. All right, there we go. And if you want, you can put a couple clips in them to hold them together. But with just a medium weight stabilizer, they press together real nicely, and they pretty much stay nice and flat. But I will do it just for ease. There we go. Okay, so we have those all pressed. I'm going to set them aside for a few moments. Set my iron aside. And now we are going to take our fabric pieces, and we're going to lay them right side together. Now, if you didn't adhere your batting, it's still going to work. I just thought it'd be easier if I added it as a basting spray, so that it would be nice and smooth. I'm going to press out those folds from where I had it sitting. Okay, so we're going to take this, and for each corner, let me get out my mat. on each corner, we are going to cut out a 3.5 inch corner. So let me find, I don't know if I have a oh, yep, I do. I have a square ruler. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the 3.5 inch line on both sides. That's 3.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, this is a 4.5. So if I put it on the 3 inch line, that is going to be a 3.5. You see my 1/2 inch is over here. 1, 2, 3.5. The red squares are the halves. And I'm going to cut out each corner. I'm being very careful not to overshoot here, so I can come back with my scissors and trim that out right there. And do that with all 4 corners. And having them stacked together just makes it very simple. Okay, let me get this turned right. Right there. 3.5. Okay. I'm cutting weird by my machine, so ignore that. Okay, and trim off this little extra piece. As I was going around my machine, I didn't get that well. Okay, so I'm going to do the other 2 corners, and then we will get ready to put on our handles. Okay, so before we put on our handles, first thing we have to do is top stitch them. So I've already done this one. I like to keep it about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So just, and you can do them as a chain piecing, but I did them separately. So just go about 1/8 of an inch away, up one side, and down the other. These are not really, really stiff handles, but they certainly have some body to them. They are nice, flexible, but stiff. Just not board stiff. Okay, so our handles actually, well, let's look at our piece here. We cut it out, and this is what it looks like right there. We've got 2 short sides and 2 long sides. Okay, we're going to look at the short sides, which are they're just a little over 6 inches long. So what we want to do is we want our handles to be about 1/2 inch longer than that. So I'm going to just put it on top there and snip off 1/2 inch away. So basically my handle is 7 inches. So we'll do that on both of them. So we have a 7 by, it's about, well, it's bigger than 3/4 of an inch, but it's not quite an inch. So it's about 7/8 of an inch wide. Okay, and throw away our scraps. Okay, now we need to mark where we're going to put our handles. We're on this shorter side, and we want to put them about 1.5 inches down from the top. So just come here and mark at 1.5 inch and 1.5 inch. You can do the whole line if you need, but basically these are the sides you need. And mark on the other side also. 1.5 inch right there. And right there. Okay. Now you can decide whether you want to center it on that 1.5 inch, if you want to drop it down below it. I think that I put mine centered on that. And you're going to center it, and then I did about 1/8 of an inch and just anchored it down. Actually, you know what? I just messed up, because we want to only put it on our outside, and I still have everything all layered here. We just want to put it on the outside of our bag, which is not my gray. It is my my printed fabric. So my bad. Let's take this off. There, just unpick that one little seam. So this marking will do me no good whatsoever because it's on the wrong piece. So let's mark it again on the right piece this time. Right there. So if you wanted to not have to center it, then I would just mark it at the 1-inch line, and then you're not having to center it. You can put it right under that. So now I can take this and put it right under that line. See how that works? So that's what we'll do. However you want to do it. I like my handle to be closer to the top of my bag than to the bottom. So you see, by the time I have my seam turned here and this pulled together, it's going to be closer to the top. Okay, now remember it's a little longer. So we're going to just let it bend over and sew it down. Now I do have the batting on this one, so it still lays nice and flat even with that handle on there. And then we'll get this side. I'm going to mark it at the 1, and then I'm going to put my handle underneath that line right there. Okay. And you're almost done already, by the way. It is a fairly quick and easy project. That's what I like to call it. One of our quick gifts. Okay. So we have our handles. Now it's going to kind of bump up a little bit, but that's okay. So now we're going to take and put our backing fabric or our lining fabric back on, and you are going to sew down each of the sides, not the cutout corner. You're just going to do a 1/4-inch seam down each of those sides. And I did change to gray thread because I wanted it to match nicely. And now I'll flatten that off. We know it's square because we cut it all out at the same time. So I'm just kind of holding that handle down with my hand, keeping it out of the way. Keeping everything lined up. We're just going to keep going. And the final one, well, we still have our line there, but it's going to erase because I used a friction pen. And it's going to be on the inside, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. So now you have something that looks like this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just open one corner, reach through, and turn everything through one of the corners. Get your handles where they belong. Everything comes through one corner like that. Isn't that cool? Okay, and it's pressing time. And you want to make sure that you have pressed it out evenly to the edge. You want your seam to be right on the edge. You don't want it to be, you don't want to see lining on the outside, and you don't want to see outside on the inside. So get it nice and even and just give it a press. And you're going to do that all the way around. And once we've got this pressed all the way around, get that up there. Okay. We're going to take the time to top stitch all the way around the 4 seams that we just did. We're not worried about the corners yet. We're just doing those seams. Okay. So that's what I want you to do. Get them all pressed out and then top stitch. And you can use whatever width of stitch you like. I'll probably use my either an 1/8 or a 1/4. I'm not sure. Let's see what I did on my other one. I did both on this one. I thought it would look cute to have a double row of stitching. So I did very close, and then I went back and did a 1/4 inch also. I just thought it looked nice. So you can decide. This would be a place you could do a decorative stitch if you wanted. A nice little something that you enjoy. Just some way to anchor that edge around. Now I would not, even though I did 2 rows of stitching, I would not use a double needle on this to do your 2 rows of stitching, because it's going to show on the inside too, and that double needle makes a zigzaggy sort of thing on the inside that I don't want. So I'm just going to sew it at an 1/8, and then I'll go back in and sew it again at a 1/4. So let's see what happens. So do that all the way around, and then I'm going to show you how to finish it off. Double row of stitching all the way around, done. Okay, now we're going to take and we're going to put this right sides together and sew a 1/4 inch seam down each of these corners. I do like to back stitch at the top and the bottom. Now that's going to look pretty ugly at this point. I mean, that's not a pretty finish on this bag, but we're not done yet. So get all 4 of these done. Okay, I'm only going to do 2 now. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut it down to about an 1/8 inch. Just trim off some of that excess right there. Make a nice narrow seam. Okay, do it again here. Trim off. So I have about an 1/8 inch seam right there. Okay, throw away my excess. And then turn it right side out and get your point pointed out really carefully. I've got a couple threads here that are not trimmed up, so I'm going to catch those real quick so I don't forget them later. Okay, and now keeping your strap down, we want to sew the strap down. Get that folded nice and neatly, and sew again a 1/4 inch from that edge, doing a little bit of a back stitch. Make sure your handle is straight and go all the way up and back stitch at the top. And look at what you have, a pretty finished edge. Make sure you get all your threads cut off. Let's do that again on this one. Double check I've got my point all the way out. I like to sew it from the handle side so I can see that my handle is nice and even. Oh, let me throw my scissors on the floor. We'll use our big ones instead. Okay. Kind of tuck that little end in if you can. Make sure it's nice and even. And do a 1/4 inch. Keeping your handle nice and snug. There we go. Reverse stitch. My handle is even. Oh, I hooked my other handle on the side of my machine, so I didn't want to pull straight. There we go. See, now I have a little bit of a goober there because over on this side, my handle, when I was sewing, got hooked around, well, let's see if I can get that out a little bit more for you. It got hooked around this edge of my table here, and so it didn't pull straight. So I'm going to have to take that out and do a nice stitch there, but I will do that a little later off camera because you guys know how I do that. Okay, so that's how you're going to finish up, and we'll just do the other two real quick, and you will have your basket completed. Your fat quarter storage bin will be all done. So I just want to show you the difference between the one with the batting and the one without. So I'm not going to finalize everything. I just want to make it stand up, and then I will show you the difference between the two. Okay. I'll come back and get these seams pretty in a minute, but okay, poke them all out. See how nice that stands up? Need to give it a little press right there, but those sides are nice and stiff. The one without the batting, with just a stabilizer, it's a little floppier. It works lovely, it's just floppier. So you just need to decide, you know, how you want it to look, whether you want a nice stiff bodied purse or bag. Now, once these two are finished, it's going to hold that out a little bit straighter. Or if you want one that folds down real easy like this. So this one is one that you can pop in a bag and take with you places to add things to. This would be fun to take on vacation, so you have somewhere to put all your keys and your cameras and all your different things, your phones at night in your motel room. That would be a great use for this little bag. You just fold it like that and throw it in your suitcase. So all sorts of purposes for these fun little, I call them fat quarter bags, but you can use them for whatever. If you want it to be taller or shorter, it's how deep you cut your corners. If you want it to be a larger, lower bag, cut them at 2.5 instead of 3.5, or whatever you want to do. Play with it, pick some scrap fabric, do some playing, and then cut it for real. Happy quilting!